I was in 4th grade when the teacher asked me to present my poem in front of the class. I was doing so well when suddenly the whole room started to stink. Goodness, that fart could ruin lives. Someone from the back jokingly said,
Ha 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 ha! I bet it's Tina.
"What? No, it's not me."
Look at her face. Of course it's her.
I kept protesting, but no one believed me. The teacher told me to leave the class and sent me to the bathroom. When I looked in the mirror, it suddenly hit me why everyone thought it was me. Hi, my name is Tina, and I have something called idiopathic craniofacial erythema, where simply put, I blush a lot. It might sound cute, but I turn crazy red whenever I feel anything. Whether I'm embarrassed, guilty, stressed, angry. Just name an emotion, and I'm a tomato. Please like and subscribe before I tell you how this condition changed my life forever. It was never easy to have everyone know what I was feeling, but it got even worse when Dad started working as a janitor at a posh private high school, and I got enrolled for free. But Dad, I don't think I'll fit in. They're all probably billionaires, and they'll just turn up their noses at me when they find out you work there.
I don't want you to tell anyone that I'm your dad, okay? I don't want anything to be harder for you. And you're just as smart and deserving as any kid out there. So don't let anyone make you feel otherwise.
But as expected, school was a nightmare. On my first day, the school queen, Diane, and her gang immediately noticed me. Their eyes were scanning me up and down, and it was really freaking me out.
You're pretty, but do you own a private island?
Oh, is that a requirement here?
Not really, but everyone here is rich. So I'm just checking which richness level you belong to.
I felt so annoyed. I turned as red as her lipstick, but they thought I was just embarrassed.
Aw, you're blushing. Don't worry, I'm the only one who has a private island. But at least tell me you have a private jet.
One of her minions butted in.
I don't think she does, Diane. Look at that cheap secondhand bag from Walmart.
Diane looked horrified. Yes, of course, I do. Who doesn't have a jet these days? I came in the limo because the jet has gone for maintenance. Just then, I saw my dad mopping the floor nearby. And even though he was poker-faced, I'm pretty sure he'd heard me.
Boring. But since you're pretty, you can join our gorgeous gang. We'll make your school experience beautiful like me.
Suddenly, someone whispered.
Good luck.
I turned around and instantly started blushing. Oh my, he was the cutest guy I'd ever seen.
Hi, I'm Brian.
He greeted me and I could feel my face turning red.
Ew! Why are you so red? You look like a stupid tomato.
Forget about the gorgeous gang. I don't want a freak with us. She's probably simping hard on Brian.
Well, Brian is only available for me, right, babe?
Come on, Diane. How many times do I have to tell you that we're not together?
Yeah. I hear you, babe.
I was so relieved to hear that Brian didn't like Diane, but I was sure it was becoming way too obvious to him that I was crushing hard. So I excused myself and ran away. I knew I'd have to avoid him, but that wasn't easy when we had all our classes together. During chemistry, he sat down next to me. Just then, the teacher started demonstrating sugar dehydration and asked us why sugars turned into black toothpaste after sulfuric acid is added. Everyone looked at her like she'd spoken Chinese. But I knew the answer. Because the sulfuric acid removes water from the sugar, releasing heat, steam, and sulfur oxide fumes. It also smells like caramel. Everyone looked uber impressed. Just then, Brian scooted closer to me and whispered,
I didn't know your brain is as pretty as your face.
Immediately, I turned horribly red.
What's wrong with you? Is that thing infectious?
I could see the girls snickering. What a total jerk. My blushing disease wasn't the only thing that was ruining things at school. It wasn't long before Diane realized I'd never worn anything that screamed $1 million. One day in the canteen, she suddenly came up to me and knocked my lunch tray off the table.
I've been watching you go to school every day and you're just walking.
I instantly turned red, totally furious. Before I could attack her, Dad was suddenly by my side.
That's an awful thing to do to a new student, Miss.
Diane looked like she was about to explode.
Excuse you. Who are you, her dad? Just do your job, you stupid janitor. And that's to clean up our mess. Here's some more for you.
And with that, Diane suddenly kicked the cart and spilled all the chemicals and trash onto the floor.
Do your work properly, or I'll tell my parents they can easily get you kicked out of here.
That's not how you should treat janitors, Diane. They work really hard to make sure the school is nice and clean for us. In fact, you shouldn't be allowed to speak like this to anyone.
Avenue. So am I supposed to cry and hug him for giving me his lame opinion?
No, but you're supposed to treat hardworking people with respect. Imagine how you'd feel if someone treated you that way.
And why do I need to imagine that? I'm pretty rich. I'm never going to be a janitor. I'm going to be sitting in a nice big office one day, running Daddy's business.
The principal, Miss Sheldon, suddenly arrived and asked what was going on. Diane immediately transformed into an angel.
Oh, nothing. The janitor just spilled his stuff and I was helping him.
She's lying. She kicked his things on purpose and was being horrible to him. I was sure Miss Sheldon was going to tell her off, but she just looked uncomfortable and told everyone to go to their classes. I was so angry that she didn't stand up for Dad just because Diane's rich parents gave a lot of donations to the school. That night, Dad surprised me with a beautiful birthday cake.
Yeah, happy birthday, sweetheart.
I'd completely forgotten I was turning 17 today. Thank you, Dad. I'm really sorry about how horrible Diane was to you. I wish I could just punch her in the face. Even the principal didn't do anything.
I'm sure she didn't have a choice, honey. She can't afford to make someone like Diane's parents angry.
But that's so unfair.
Well, I'm sure when you're rich one day, you'll treat people around you much better. Now don't worry about it anymore and open your gifts.
I was shocked to see some branded bags, shoes, and clothes. How did you afford these?
I had some money saved up. This will hopefully get those girls off your back for a while.
I hugged him and promised myself that someday I was going to spoil him and make him proud. But a few months later, my world turned upside down when he suffered from a heart attack and fell into a coma. I didn't know what to do, and how was I going to pay the hospital bills? When I told the principal, I broke down into tears, and she comforted me.
You don't have to worry about anything, Tina. I'll talk to the school board and we'll still keep you in school free of charge.
That's really kind of you, but I have another favor to ask. Please hire me in Dad's place. I really need a salary.
Tina, I'm not sure you want to work here. Maybe I could lend you some money.
Thank you, Miss Sheldon, but I'd rather work for it. Please? She was hesitant, but eventually agreed to hire me, and she was generous enough to double Dad's salary. When Diane saw me in my uniform for the first time, she cackled with delight.
I knew it. You're the janitor's daughter. It's a shame to have a poor freak like you here in my school.
The only thing that's a shame is that there are people like you in the world. Now please get out of my way. In between classes, I'd mop the floor and clean everyone's trash, and whenever I did, Diane would be there to mock me. One time, she peeled a banana and threw the peel right at my face.
Oops, sorry. I mistook your face for a trash can.
One day, we were in the middle of an exam, and she excused herself to go to the bathroom. When she came back, she complained that the toilet was clogged and I needed to go fix it. But I'm still answering my exam.
You're the janitor here, right? Do your work now.
I was furious. When I checked it, she had purposely stuffed a lot of tissue paper in the toilet. And even worse, she'd written the worst possible things on the bathroom walls. The next time Diane complained about the clogged toilet, I finally spoke up. Ugh, how long should I suffer from your constipation, Diane? I'm dying from the smell. Diane turned red with anger when others laughed.
I didn't poop, dummy.
Then, why's the toilet always clogged? It was now her turn to blush and walk out in embarrassment. One day, when I was in the janitor's closet, I was surprised to see a boy coming in with a paper bag on his head. But I knew exactly who he was. Brian, why are you wearing that?
Because you blush hard every time you see my handsome face.
Oh, wow. Not only was he a little jerk, but he was also really full of himself. He got rid of the paper bag and held my hand. Surprisingly, I felt nothing.
Listen, what you did with Diane a while ago was so cool. It was the first time someone stood up to her, and I'm impressed. Do you want to hang out sometime?
I was about to say no when suddenly he leaned in for a kiss. I was blushing now, but in panic. Before our lips touched, the closet was suddenly opened by a super jealous Diane.
You're gonna pay for hitting on my future boyfriend, Tina. You'll see.
One evening, when I was studying for a big test, the principal called me.
I'm really sorry, Tina, but the jocks and the cheerleaders had a big party at the gym, and we need the place clean for an assembly tomorrow morning. It shouldn't take too long.
But when I got to school, I realized to my horror that not just the gym, but the whole school was a total mess. There was trash everywhere and stuff written on the walls. All the toilets were also clogged with tissue paper. Of course, I knew the culprit. I had to finally teach Diane a lesson. I took pictures of all the mess. Then I went to her locker and opened it up using a hairpin. I grinned when I saw what was in there. There was still room for a few things, so I took out the tissue papers from all the toilets and stuffed them in her precious locker. Perfect. Then an idea came to mind. I sneaked into the laboratory and mixed up a few chemicals together. I put my formula on a sponge and wiped it across the wall. The ink came off instantly. I sat down to rest for a while and I just fell asleep there. The next morning, I woke up to everyone gathered around me, and Diane was screaming.
That freak ruined my locker. She did it.
The principal walked into the scene. It's true I did that, Miss Sheldon. But look at what she and her minions did to the school before I cleaned it all up. Miss Sheldon looked horrified to see the pictures on my phone. She turned angrily to Diane.
Diane, you have no respect for the people who work here or for the school property. If you think I will keep tolerating such behavior, you are very much mistaken.
Ms. Sheldon, you know who my parents are, right?
Yes, I do. And I will be calling them right now. I'm going to talk to the school board about having you expelled.
Everyone around us erupted into cheers as Miss Sheldon and a very furious Diane walked into her office. She had been bullying everyone way too long. Long story short, Diane was expelled, and even her minions were suspended. I was about to graduate high school in a few months, and I kept thinking about the formula that I tried in the school lab. I continued testing it at home, and after a few weeks, I felt I'd really perfected it. I set up a website and put up a small video of me cleaning the toughest stains with my invention, and to my surprise, it went viral. I had orders pouring in so fast, I was working day and night to meet the demand. 2 weeks later, an investor contacted me, and fast forward to a couple more months, I was earning millions. I transferred Dad to a better hospital, and just a month later, he finally woke up. I told him everything that happened.
I'm so proud of you, Tina.
I went off to college, but Dad and I continued my business together and moved into a mansion. We supply our invention to a lot of schools for free to make the jobs of janitors easier everywhere. Oh, and I also found out that my condition could be easily fixed by a small surgery, and I could certainly afford it now. Finally, I could keep some secrets. Hi, I'm Aria from Atlanta, and before I tell you a story you'll never forget, please like and subscribe. I lived in a mansion with my single mom, who ran a successful makeup chain. Mom was really particular and a total neat freak, but I was her total opposite, an absolute mess.
Arya, fix your hair. You look like a troll, and wipe that mud off your face.
Since Mom started a career as a supermodel, she wanted me to follow in her footsteps. So when I turned 11, she got me into a huge fashion show. But I took one step on the runway and fell on my butt. Sorry, Mom tried her best to tame me, but I showed no sign of improvement. It was just the way I was. The only person who accepted that was my bestie, Annie. Her mom worked for us, and sometimes Annie would tag along to help her mom out. Not only was Annie super funny and a great cook, she was a low-key genius and would help me study all the time. Why am I not getting this? Am I stupid?
No, you're not. You're just looking at it the wrong way.
She was the reason I didn't fail my middle school, and everyone adored her, especially Mom. She often said that Annie was beautiful and reminded her of herself when she was younger. Mom liked Annie so much that she even invited her to join us on a trip to France. We were having so much fun till this woman walked up to us and said to Mom,
"Oh, wow. Your daughter is so beautiful. Like a fresh daisy."
"Excuse me, I'm her daughter."
Really? Well, I'm sure you have an amazing personality."
I wanted to kick that woman's French butt. It's not that I didn't like her complimenting Annie, but it made me jealous that Mom didn't even correct. And after that day, I just didn't like it when Mom paid Annie any attention. One afternoon, I came home from tennis practice and found Annie and Mom raiding my closet. What's going on?
I'm giving Annie some of your old clothes. Doesn't she look fabulous?
The way they were laughing and prancing around without me, it made my blood boil. I snatched a skirt out of Annie's hand, then started shouting at Mom. "That's my stuff. You can't just give it away."
I'm so sorry, I'll leave. You can be so selfish. Annie and her mother are dirt poor. She could use these clothes. You were never going to wear them again anyway.
I don't care. Next time, ask me before you give my things away like that. I ran to my room and shut the door. But after a while, I realized that Mom was right. I was being selfish, so I packed a few boxes full of clothes that I knew Annie would like and went to her house. I'm really sorry about the way I acted. Here, you can have them all and more. Will you forgive me?
Of course I forgive you. You're my best friend, silly.
Over the years, Annie and I grew closer, and I even convinced Mom to pay Annie's tuition so we could go to the same school. On her first day, I introduced Annie to my friends, but they just laughed in her face.
Oh my god. Who did her hair? A blind woman?
Ooh, look at that skirt. It stinks. At least it's better than your stinky mouth. Now, if you don't mind, we have a class to get to.
You didn't have to do that. They're your friends.
Yeah, but you're my best friend. There's a difference, and it's called having each other's back, even though Annie had a trashy first day. Over time, her sunny personality won over all my friends. Not to mention, she was great at everything. Annie tried for the cheer squad, and they made her captain. She baked cookies for the whole class one time, and the kids couldn't stop praising her. She was voted most beautiful, most likely to succeed, and had the highest grades in school. Annie even ran for class president and won by a landslide.
I've never met a girl like Annie before. She's the best. Can you ask her to come to my slumber party?
Why? Isn't that only for close friends?
Yeah, and she's one of us now. You should be happy.
Only I wasn't. I loved Annie, but I couldn't help feeling jealous of how perfect she was. And then one day, while I was having milkshakes with her at the mall, someone spooked me half to death.
Hey, Aria Banana, it was Owen.
He was the son of one of Mom's investors and my childhood crush. Are you trying to give me a heart attack? And look at that! You ruined my shirt.
Oh, let me fix that for you.
Annie quickly grabbed a can of club soda and dabbed at the stain. Within seconds, my shirt was all clean.
Wow, that was brilliant. I'm Owen.
She's Annie, and we're late.
Hey, wait, if you guys are free this weekend, would you want to come for a science exhibition?
Science on a Saturday? How boring. I'd rather stick a needle in my eye. You're such a nerd, Owen.
I'd love to come, great.
I'll text you the address.
As Annie and Owen exchanged numbers, I just stood there in shock. Owen had never been this friendly to me, and I'd known him for years. I'd even asked him out once, but he said I was too young, and he just wanted to be friends. But that weekend, after Annie came back from the exhibition, she told me that Owen had asked her out. What? That's not possible. He never dates girls younger than him. What did you do?
Nothing. We just have a lot in common and talked about science stuff.
I was so shocked at what Annie told me that I couldn't stop myself from running over to Owen's house. You said you don't date girls my age. Annie is 3 months younger than me.
I know I said that, but honestly, I was just politely rejecting you. We have nothing in common, and with Annie, I feel complete. She's special, and I think I'm in love.
You met her yesterday, you idiot. I wanted to punch Owen in the face, but I settled for kicking dirt and walking back home. It took me a while, but I somehow made peace with Owen and Annie dating. But slowly, Annie and I started drifting apart. She had no time for me and was always busy hanging out with Owen. You want to hang out tonight?
I can't. I have a date with Owen.
What about tomorrow?
Cheerleading practice. Maybe we can squeeze something in next week.
And the next week, she made another excuse, and I was left alone again. I turned to my friends for comfort, but they didn't want to hang out either. Not without Annie. I was furious at how quickly Annie had taken over my entire life. My friends, the boy I liked, everything. I was so mad I could scream. So I did. At my driver for driving too slow, at the gardener for cutting the grass too short. I even shouted at the teacher in class. Who the heck cares about an isosceles triangle? It's just a stupid triangle. I went straight to detention after that. I took a seat at the back when this girl spoke to me. You're Annie's bestie, right? I have a name. It's Aria.
Oh. Whoa, snappy. I was just saying that your best friend sucks. I hate her.
This girl was the first person I'd met who hated Annie, ever since she joined the school. We got talking, and soon I started hanging out with a new crowd. They liked to ditch school, cheat on tests, and sneak out late on school nights. But the best thing about them was that none of them was in love with Annie. After a long time, I was finally having a little bit of fun. But, as always, Annie had to poop on my parade.
You missed class. We had a really big quiz.
I don't care.
Well, you should, because you'll fail your classes if you don't show up for the test.
Why are you acting like you care? You've been ignoring me for the longest time now, so ignore a little more and stay away.
I'm sorry, I haven't been around much. Maybe we can hang out tomorrow. Owen and I are going to the museum. Maybe you could join us.
Maybe you shouldn't be such a big nerd and mind your own business. Annie didn't bother me after that, and I didn't mind either. I had a new set of friends, and I was happy. Then a week later, the school announced the annual parent-teacher meeting, and it was a disaster. My grades were at an all-time low, and Mom was furious. But I wasn't the only one suffering. Everyone had low grades in my group, and some of them were even failing.
I hate those stupid teachers. They think they can rule our lives with their dumb homework and grades.
My dad grounded me for a month for failing a boring class. He took away my Mercedes. What am I supposed to do? Walk everywhere?
Yeah, teachers suck.
I wish we could teach them a lesson.
Maybe we could.
How?
We can ruin their stupid teacher's lounge. We snuck into the school late the next evening, and we trashed the teacher's lounge. We spray painted the walls, poked the microwave and the TV, and we stuffed fish into the vents. We rushed out of there and ran straight into Annie.
Aria, what are you doing?
I could ask you the same thing.
I was studying at the library. What?
Just then, we spotted Mr. Stilson, the janitor, and I rushed past Annie without saying a word. And the next morning, I was sweating bricks when my friends approached me.
What are you gonna do about Annie?
What do you mean?
The principal is investigating the matter of the teacher's lounge. And if she says anything, we're dead meat.
She won't say anything. She loves me too much.
Okay, yeah. That explains why she went behind your back and stole the guy you liked.
I didn't want to think about it, but my friend was right. We could get expelled, and someone had to take the fall. So I made a decision. And later that day, I walked up to the principal's office. But to my surprise, Annie, my new friends, and the janitor, Mr. Silson, were all there.
Mr. Stilson just told me how he saw you and your friends in the hallway after the teacher's lounge was vandalized.
I don't know what Mr. Silson said to you, but my friends and I were there to study. In fact, I saw Annie come out of the teacher's lounge.
What?
She was the one who vandalized the teacher's lounge. I even saw her putting some of the paint cans in her locker. You can check if you don't believe me. The principal checked Annie's locker and found 2 cans of spray paint that I'd hidden there. Annie was expelled immediately. And after that day, she just never came to my place with her mom. I didn't expect her to. What I'd done was horrible. A few days later, I finally built up enough courage to apologize.
How could you do this to me?
I'm sorry, but I had no choice. I would have been expelled. It would have gone on my permanent record. I couldn't let that happen. I am supposed to take over my mom's company one day.
But I lost everything.
Not really. You didn't have much to begin with. And honestly, you weren't even supposed to be at that school. You land on your feet. You don't need a college degree to be a maid. Annie slapped me, then slammed the door in my face. The next morning, her mother quit, and they left. I tried to reach out to Annie, but she ignored my calls. Couldn't blame her. I hated myself for the things I'd said. Things weren't the same after Annie left. My new friends ditched me soon, and all the other kids resented me for getting Annie kicked out of school. When I went off to college, I tried to make new friends. But they were either really shallow or just wanted to use me for my money. I felt so lonely, so I focused all of my attention on my job at my mom's company. But on the day of my mom's retirement party, she called me into her office.
I've decided not to name you CEO of my company.
What? But I've been working so hard. You promised that I would take over once you retired.
I did. And I appreciate your hard work too. But this business is all about making relationships, and you're not good at that.
I'm not? You have to give me a chance.
Honey, there are no second chances in business, and you're really not cut out for it.
And now she was telling me that after all the time I wasted in making Mom happy. I felt betrayed and lost. Now I know how it feels when someone you trust stabs you in the back. This is exactly what I did to Annie. And if I had to start over in life, it had to be by apologizing to her. I looked Annie up online and learned that she had married Owen and moved to California to become a celebrity chef. She owned one of the most popular restaurants in Hollywood. I paid a fortune to rent out the restaurant for an entire night and ordered Annie's most famous dish. After I was done, I made a special request to thank the chef. When Annie came out, I took one look at her and started crying.
Aria? Is that you?
Annie, I know you probably hate me, and you should, but I have to say this. Your friendship was the most valuable thing I had, and I threw it away. Please, please forgive me. I wish I could turn back time, but I can't.
Hey, listen. I'm not holding on to any grudges. Whatever happened is in the past now. I was really angry for a while, but I've moved on. And so should you.
With that, she took me home and made me meet her young daughter. And on that day, I vowed to be better. A better friend, a better person, a better version of me. Hi, I'm Layla from Washington, and I have a really personal story to share today. But before I do, please like and subscribe. My mom gave birth to identical twin daughters, me and my sister Elise. So, of course, my parents dressed us in the same clothes and braided our hair with matching ribbons. But people could easily tell us apart for one reason. Elise was born with a minor facial distortion. Her eyes were a little lopsided, and her mouth was almost as low as her chin. I, on the other hand, looked like a freaking porcelain doll. And everywhere we went, people would ooh and ah at me. She's just too lovely to be real.
Wow, look at those brown eyes.
I have the same color eyes.
But everyone ignored Elise, and it really got to her. I kept telling her she was just as pretty as me, but she wouldn't hear a word of it. And as years passed, my sister grew to hate me. Elise did everything she could to make me feel as sad and angry as she felt. She'd spread rumors about me at school, steal my diary, and once she'd tried to shave off my eyebrows. I was living in fear, 24/7. Worst of all, my parents didn't take it that seriously.
I'll take away her electronics for a week.
That's not enough, Dad. Elise is trying to ruin my life. What if she tries to seriously hurt me?
Oh, Layla, that's silly. Elise is just going through a phase and we would never let her harm you.
They didn't understand, and when I turned 14, things really turned upside down. One afternoon, I came home from school to find Elise in the living room with my parents, and they looked furious with me.
How could you do something like that, Layla?
What are you talking about?
Elise said you locked her in the closet for an hour. We heard her calling for us.
What? Just then, I saw Elise, and she was smirking at me.
I just don't think I feel safe around Layla anymore, Mommy. How can I trust her after what she did?
Guys, she's framing me. She locked herself up in the closet.
And why would she do that? That's just twisted, Layla.
Didn't my parents see how crazy Elise was? Not one of them talked to me that night. They all watched Luna Avatar with a bowl of popcorn while I stayed in my room. But the next morning, my parents did the unthinkable. They made me move into the guest house.
It was Elise's idea. You two need space away from each other. We can't have this negativity in the house.
So you're kicking me out? What, because I trapped her in the closet? I told you guys I didn't do it.
It doesn't matter who did it. The point is, you two are toxic for each other right now. And at the moment, Elise needs our attention more than you do. You have more friends and the world at your fingertips. It's just for a short time, Layla.
I was speechless. I was being punished for literally nothing, and it was all Elise's fault. I moved into our guest house that evening and didn't speak to any of my family members. In fact, I continued to ignore them for the next several months. Sure, it was clear Elise was much happier without me in the house. She made more friends and even picked up a few hobbies. But I was still bubbling with anger. One day, I was coming out of the supermarket when I saw a homeless boy outside with dyed turquoise hair. I immediately pulled out a bag of bananas and some change, but he just laughed.
Whoa, do I look like a beggar?
If I'm being honest,
These clothes are just really old.
I still insisted that he keep the bananas, and the two of us ended up having lunch together. I found out the boy's name was Easton, and he lived in an apartment down the block. He was also an absolute sweetheart. I told Easton all about my home situation and Elise's issues with me, and he had a brilliant idea.
Pretend to run away from home, leave at midnight, and leave a note. Turn off the location services on your phone, and you can stay at my place. They'll get so scared they'll beg you to move back in with them. They might even finally punish your jerk sister.
I was sold. My whole family deserved a little scare, so that night, I sent a text to both my parents to tell them my plans and switched my location to private. I spent the next 2 nights at Easton's apartment. His family was really poor, and I had to sleep on a torn cot, but I felt fantastic. My parents were probably going crazy.
Maybe they think you joined a gang.
Or they think I'm pregnant and ran off to get married. Unfortunately, the fun didn't last long. The next morning, my parents burst into Easton's apartment with several cops. They hugged me and cried for a moment, but then they were furious.
Why would you scare us like this? We had no idea what was going on.
Sorry, but you kicked me out for no reason, and then neglected me for 6 months. I needed to teach you a lesson.
Teach us a lesson? Layla, we know the living situation isn't perfect, and we know we haven't been giving you as much attention, but just disappearing like you did. That's crazy behavior. Come with us right this second.
After that, Mom let me move back into the house, but she watched me like a dog. Elise even suggested I shouldn't leave home without her escorting me, and my parents agreed. Luckily, I could still hang out with Easton, who was the only person who seemed to care about me, and it turned out we'd even be going to the same high school next month. On my first day of 9th grade, I was in gym class when Easton started jogging next to me.
Whoa there, you look ready to faint. Here, take some of my water.
Oh God, is it that obvious?
Don't worry, you still look lovely, even though you're drenched in sweat.
Easton smiled at me as I drank from his water, and I felt a little weak in the knees, and not just because I was tired. I saw Elise glare at me as she jogged by, but I didn't care. As months passed, Easton and I just got closer, and whenever Elise was mean, he always defended me.
You can make fun of Layla's dress all you want, but she's the one who got a party invitation, and you didn't.
Secretly, I had the biggest crush on Easton, but I was way too chicken to ever tell him. I was just grateful to have a best friend. It was exhausting living with a bully 24/7. Then, one day, when I came home from school, my parents gave me shocking news. They'd found a plastic surgeon to fix Elise's facial distortion. They couldn't completely get rid of it, but I'd never seen my sister so happy.
I felt so ugly my whole life, Layla. I know it sounds shallow, but I can't wait to be as beautiful as you.
Elise, look at me. You've never been ugly. But if getting this surgery makes you feel more confident, then I support you. Elise started to cry then and hugged me. I stayed with her in the surgery room the entire time, and she even apologized for how she treated me. And I was glad. I was ready to give up our crazy fighting. After Elise's surgery, things changed between us. Elise didn't seem jealous of me anymore, and even started hanging out with me and Easton. Then, one day, I walked into my front yard and almost had a heart attack. Elise was kissing Easton. Hey, does someone want to tell me what's going on here?
Well...
Layla, I've been meaning to tell you. Easton and I like each other, and I asked him out.
I felt like I was gonna throw up. I pulled Elise aside angrily. How could you do this to me? Elise, I love him and you know it.
I know you love him, and I'm sorry. But I've been hanging out with Easton for a couple of weeks, and we have a connection.
How could you do this to me? Elise, I love him and you know it.
Layla, I'm not trying to hurt you. I really like Easton, and I just want to be happy for once.
I can't take this anymore. You made me miserable for 14 years, and then got me kicked out of my own house and convinced Mom to basically ground me for 24/7. This is the last straw. I stormed off and blocked Easton on all social media. He kept calling me to apologize and tell me that him dating Elise wouldn't change our friendship, but I refused to speak to him. The next day at school, I decided it was time for overdue revenge. The first thing I did was attach a bucket of paint to the cafeteria doorway, and when Elise walked in with Easton, pink splashed all over them. Everyone laughed like crazy, and I felt great. I got suspended for a day, but it was worth it, and I didn't stop there. That entire month, I pulled every prank I could think of on them at school, putting spiders in their locker and gluing their butts to the classroom chairs. I felt guilty for being a jerk, but Elise deserved it, didn't she? And Easton was dating my sister, who bullied me my whole life. Then one day, I was studying in the courtyard when Easton walked over to me, and he looked furious.
I've had it with you, Layla. Your jealousy has turned you insane. All the kids at school now are terrified of you.
What do you mean? I've done nothing to anyone, except you and Elise.
Really? Because the bucket of paint from your prank got all over the cafeteria floor, and one kid tripped and sprained his ankle. I'm sorry you're hurt about me dating Elise, but it happened organically. Our feelings for each other had nothing to do with you. I know you're hurt, but don't become a bully because of it.
Easton walked off, and I thought about what he said. Maybe Elise wasn't trying to hurt me, and her falling for Easton was just a coincidence. Maybe I could just be happy for her. So that week, I did everything I could to make things right with people. I volunteered to help as many kids as I could with homework, and they'd know I wasn't a monster. and I apologized to Elise and Easton, and surprisingly, they forgave me. On Friday night, Elise and Easton were celebrating their 1-month anniversary at the beach, so I told Elise I'd deliver them a picnic basket. But when I got there, Elise was sitting alone in the sand, and she was crying. Hey, what's wrong? Where's Easton?
He's not here, Layla. He's not coming.
Did you guys break up?
No, because we never dated. It was all fake. I even paid Easton monthly and used up all my savings. I wanted to make you jealous.
Wait, what? I don't understand.
I thought that after my surgery, people would start treating me differently because my face looked better. I thought I'd finally get as much attention as you. But because my distortion isn't totally fixed, I didn't. And that made me angry. But I can't do this to you anymore. I feel horrible.
I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Elise kept apologizing, but I couldn't even look at her. I didn't want revenge. I just didn't want to deal with her anymore. Things completely changed between us after that. My sister and I both cut contact with Easton and became strangers to each other. It broke my heart, but I didn't know what else to do. We were toxic for each other. Before we knew it, high school ended, and we both went our separate ways. A couple of years later, I was walking around my university campus when I got a phone call.
Layla, it's Easton. I know we haven't spoken in years, but I need your help. My parents lost their house and are homeless. I'm doing everything I can to help them, but I'm desperate. I'm calling everyone I know for either money or food.
My stomach was in knots. I still hated Easton for what he did, but he was obviously in a crisis. So I bought a bunch of food and clothes and arrived at the homeless shelter.
God, you're an angel. I can't thank you enough.
I'm not doing this for you. It's for your parents. And I never want to see you after this. Do you understand?
Yes. What I did to you was unforgivable. Can I just tell you one thing? I never wanted to go through with Elise's fake dating plan. The only reason I agreed to it was because my family's been struggling since I was a kid. I was always terrified we'd end up living on the streets. It's still no excuse, especially because I was in love with you.
My head started spinning. I had no idea Easton had been suffering that much, and I had no idea that he loved me. I decided it was time to smooth things over. That night, I went right home and convinced my parents to give Easton's family a loan, and then I asked if they could invite Elise for dinner.
Oh, sweetie, that's a wonderful idea. She's doing well these days, but she talks about you a lot.
For some reason, I was happy to hear that. When Elise came over, she immediately ran to hug me.
Layla, I'm so glad you're here. Actually, I got you some presents.
Elise handed me a huge gift bag, and to my shock, she bought me all kinds of expensive presents. Perfume, jewelry, and even a brand new iPad.
None of this makes up for how I've treated you over the years. But I love you, Layla. And if you ever want to have a relationship, I'm here.
Thanks, Elise. That means a lot. You did really hurt me. But it has been a couple of years. I can't forgive you overnight. But this is a good start.
I also know you got in touch with Easton. If you ever want to date him, you have my blessing. It's a possibility. But
first, I want to make things right with you. Though, of course, Elise invited Easton over later and left us alone on our porch.
I'm really glad you and Elise made up. Do you think you can ever forgive me? Layla, I never really got over you.
Wow, I didn't know that. But it will take me some time to trust you again.
I understand that. I'm willing to wait as long as it takes.
Hi, I'm Pinky from Michigan. Before I continue with my story, please like and subscribe. My brain works a little differently than most people's. When I was in preschool, I thought it was a good kind of different. I was already teaching myself to read and do math. I also had a perfect memory. I could point and remind my parents where certain stores and markets were. I even helped them remember long Wi-Fi passwords. But once I got to first grade, I noticed something was off about me. Every time I talked to someone, they acted like I said something weird. One time, Mom invited a friend of hers over, and I started asking her questions. I was curious about, how'd you get that bald spot? Have you ever gotten pregnant? Do you ever pee in the middle of the night? Mom's friend was super offended by what I was saying and left dinner early. Mom was super embarrassed, and Dad tried to tell me that my questions were rude and too personal.
Next time you meet someone for the first time, ask questions like, where are you from? What's your job?
Dad gave me a bunch of example questions I could ask. But soon, I learned I didn't know how to act around people at all. And whenever I tried to make friends, I just ended up annoying them, whether I talked too much or stood too close to them. By the time I was in 10th grade, I got used to not having friends.
Pinky's like a robot.
What planet did that weirdo come from?
So instead, I studied super hard and became #1 in my class. I won tons of science fairs and awards for school projects. My whole life was books and homework. Then one day, something happened, totally out of the blue. Skylar, the most popular guy at school, asked me out.
It's so fun being in biology class with you. You're funny and interesting and hands down the smartest person I know.
I had no idea how to answer, but from that day on, Skylar treated me like a queen. He bought me jewelry and roses and always wanted to be my lab partner. 2 weeks later, we started dating, and everyone was super confused by it.
What's a guy like Skylar doing with a loser like Pinky?
She's gonna ruin him socially.
We were the talk of the school. Every day I asked Skylar why he chose me out of all the girls he could have dated. And he always told me the same thing.
You're different, Pinky. I like that about you. Why don't you believe me?
I tried to take Skylar for his word, so on his birthday, I planned a huge surprise for him. I Googled how to write a love poem. I spent hours thinking of the most romantic things I could tell Skylar. Finally, the day arrived. I brought speakers to school and stood up on a cafeteria table. Today is my amazing boyfriend's birthday. Skylar, babe, I've written you a poem as a token of my love. Your eyes are like starlight. Your skin's pale as moonlight. My sweet Skylar. I went on and bowed. When I finished, that's when everyone burst out laughing. I looked to Skylar, but he was heading out of the cafeteria. I ran to catch up with him. Babe, why did you leave? Don't you love the poem?
I don't get it. Why did you read it to the whole school? That was the most embarrassing moment of my life.
Why? 'Cause you're embarrassed of our love? Embarrassed of me?
That's not what I said. God, why are you so stupid, Pinky? Everyone was right about you.
Skylar walked off angrily, and tears filled my eyes. Why didn't I just put the poem in his locker or something? Or read it to him on a date? I was so sick of being a chronic moron. I came home early that day from school. My parents were working in the living room. Then suddenly, the house started shaking. We were having an earthquake. Within a few hours, half of our house was destroyed. And the next day, the earthquake was all over the news. Then, all of a sudden, my picture popped up on the TV screen with my first and last name. And next to it was written, "Reported missing after earthquake."
Young teenager last seen yesterday evening after the earthquake.
Mom, Dad, what are they talking about?
I don't know.
What kind of mistake is this? The reporters must be talking about another girl and used Pinky's picture.
My parents rushed to the computer in their bedroom to Google my apparent missing report. But when I checked social media on my phone, I saw I had thousands of notifications. Kids from school had posted everywhere online how worried they were about me and how amazing I was. Best of all, Skylar had posted about me, saying he prayed they'd find me. I'd gone from being totally alone to the most loved person overnight. Before I knew what I was doing, I walked to my parents' room. We can't tell anyone this story is fake. Look what everyone's saying about me. They love me. For once, I have to hide in this house and pretend to be missing.
Pinky, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
It's not crazy. My life is hell. I deserve to have people appreciate me for once. Pretending to go missing is the only way I can have that. My parents argued with me for hours. Then suddenly, we heard a bunch of neighbors outside our door. I ran to hide in the closet while my parents answered the door. The neighbors showered them with sympathy.
You two are going through so much with Pinky missing and your home almost ruined. Let us help you out. We'll give donations to repair the damage to your home.
To my shock, I overheard the neighbors offer thousands of dollars in donations. It sounded like enough to pay for the damage. I guess that's why I overheard my parents agree, and why later they told me they were in on my plan. I hid in the basement all day while reporters and journalists came to our house. I was glued to my phone as more posts about me flooded my newsfeed. Half of them were from Skylar.
Man, I hope Pinky's okay. I hope we don't lose her.
He was mourning me. I found an old mask in my closet. I dressed all in black and took the bus to school. Skylar was probably crying about me. I had to see it for myself. I walked around the courtyard to see Skylar sitting on the bleachers with his friends. I hid under the steps.
Poor Pinky's still missing. Maybe she's writing me another love poem.
My sweet Skylar, your eyes are like starlight.
I told you guys I could get that weirdo to date me for 2 months. Now pay up. $200 each.
I watched in horror as all of Skylar's friends gave him $200. My head was spinning, and I had to keep from crying. I ran from the bleachers and wandered the street for hours. Of course, Skylar had never liked me. Instead, he dated me as a joke for money. I decided then I wasn't going to let Skylar get away with it. The next morning, I started to walk out the door with my mask on. I was going to find Skylar and let him have it.
Pinky, why are you carrying your school backpack? You're not leaving the house, are you?
I'm wearing a mask. No one will know it's me.
That's ridiculous. You could get this whole family in trouble. This going missing scheme was your idea.
I'm still allowed to leave the house. I'm not going to stay cooped up in my room forever. I'm going to school today whether you like it or not.
Pinky, wait. If you're going in disguise, let's at least make it believable. I'll help give you a little makeover.
But in the end, we didn't just do a makeover. I decided to completely transform myself. I got a whole new wardrobe, fake eyebrows, eyelashes, and a black wig. But I covered all of it up with a mask and hoodie. When I got to school, a couple of kids approached me, wondering who I was.
Are you new here?
Why are you wearing a mask?
Because I like wearing masks. I'm like a mugger. Come at me, bro! The kids walked away quickly, and I was glad. All I could think about was Skylar. I followed him around the whole day, hiding under stairs and even sneaking into the boys' bathroom. But Skylar just seemed like his normal, popular self. Just a hot guy who'd rejected a dork like me. Maybe I was the problem, not Skylar. Then suddenly, I saw Skylar in the alleyway, smoking with a bunch of guys. They were all wearing the same bandanas and counting money from a giant backpack.
I paid you $50 to date that email girl. You should have paid me $1,000 to date that freak.
It hit me. Skylar was in a gang. I wasn't the only girl he'd bet on for money. Their backpack was full of loose bills and even some gold jewelry they were stealing too. I ran away before anyone could see me. When I got to the cafeteria, all the girls stared at me and started whispering.
That girl's probably wearing a mask and hoodie because she's hideous.
I'd wear a mask too if I had an ugly face.
I felt my skin boil. I'd been the school freak my whole life. I wasn't gonna let it happen again. With that, I unzipped my hoodie to reveal my black dress and black wig. I took off my mask and tossed it to the ground. I could feel all the kids in the cafeteria turn their heads in my direction. And finally, at the corner lunch table, I saw Skylar. He waved me over.
Hey there. You new here? Because I think I would have remembered seeing someone as pretty as you.
Yeah, I'm new. Call me Z. That's my name. I decided to hang out with Skylar the whole day. I wanted to know everything he'd been up to. All of a sudden, Skylar turned red, and he was dead silent. Had I said something? Had I blown my cover?
Z, I gotta tell you something. I'm a mess. I've reached rock bottom, especially after I lost my girlfriend. She's missing. I don't think they'll ever find her. Only a girl like you will help me get better. Can you be my girlfriend?
Sure, I'll be your girlfriend. Skylar and I spent the entire week together. He could have won the Academy Award for leading a double life. He took me on romantic beach walks and to crazy, expensive restaurants. Skylar was sweeter than he ever was when we dated. Then, one day I got really sick and couldn't leave my bed for days. I barely checked my phone and didn't talk to Skylar at all. When I was well enough, I checked online and saw no one had posted about me going missing the past few days. And when I went back to school, I didn't hear my name. Once, I was waiting in line at lunch next to a couple of girls. I decided to bring the new story up. So people still remember that missing girl. Pinky, right?
What missing girl?
That missing girl, Pinky from the news. She's probably missing for good. What reminded you of her anyway?
For once in my life, I couldn't speak. Everyone had forgotten about me just like that. People loved me and celebrated me for a bit. And then it was over. I couldn't think straight. I searched the school to go find Skylar, and when I did, he was kissing another girl. That's when I totally lost it. I sprang onto Skylar and tackled him to the ground. You're a cheat. You're a fraud! You're a liar! Skylar tried to fight me off and crowds of kids gathered around us.
Get off me, you psycho!
You're not going anywhere until you tell the truth. Until you tell everyone here that you're in a gang and you break girls' hearts for money. I pinned Skylar to the ground and he started to cry.
Okay, fine. I'm in a gang where people pay us to date girls as a joke or for revenge. We've also stolen money and expensive jewelry.
Everyone gasped and started whispering. Some girls Skylar had dated began to cry. You want to know something else, genius? If you had actually cared about me, you would have been able to recognize that I'm not Z. I'm Pinky, your old girlfriend that you dated for a bet. With that, I took off my wig.
Pinky, what? What is happening right now?
I was never missing, okay? I hid in my bedroom and lied about it for attention. I wanted to feel loved and appreciated for once in my life. But it doesn't matter, because everyone forgot about Pinky, the missing girl. Kids had gathered all around the courtyard and had heard everything. Some of them were laughing, others were whispering. But wherever I went, I could feel stares. My secret was out and posted everywhere online. I was getting attention again, except bad attention this time. Everyone thought I was a heartless witch, and they were right. How could I do something so selfish? All of a sudden, I saw my parents walking towards me. Someone had called them. Kids started pointing at me. You know what? I get it. I messed up. I'm sorry, okay? I wish I didn't care so much about what everyone thought of me, but I want to be better. And the truth is, I like who I am. Even with all my weirdness and my problems, I need to remind myself of that. But both my parents hugged me.
You did the right thing by admitting your mistake, sweetie. And we're sorry we agreed to let you do this. We should have been the responsible ones.
We promise we'll always be there for you. And we want you to know we're proud of you. We love you, Pinky.
Thanks, guys. I needed to hear that. I love you too. Hi, my name is Rose, and I'm from Germany. Please like and subscribe to Luna AVATA. I was born to parents who were rich, so rich that we had several maids, chefs, butlers, and drivers who worked around the clock for me and my crazy family. Dad was a genius on the stock trading platform, and Mom was Miss World in 1998. I loved my family, but they were so used to being spoiled that our entire lives revolved around money. Once when I was 7, I wanted to go camping. So Dad hired a set designer to create a camp set in our massive backyard. He also hired a weird mountain man to entertain us with stories and how to make a campfire.
Who wants to hear a bear story?
Yeah, I do. But my sister Lucy, who was 2 years older than me, had her head stuck in her phone. So our camping experience eventually got boring. And soon after, as I grew up, our family hardly spoke to each other. When I was at school, I was crowned the computer genius. Lucy was popular on social media, and we were both the hottest girls in school. Once when I was in 8th grade, 10 boys asked me and my sister out all at once. These boys were so lame and too desperate for our liking. Lucy and I had a checklist. The guys that we dated needed to be smart, rich, and hot. I wasn't worried so much about the rich part. I preferred intelligent guys, and in my school, all of them were rich but also total smurf brains. And then, one day when I was in the 11th grade, a new boy joined her school and took my title of computer genius. I was kind of jealous at first, but when he smiled at me, I melted, having a huge crush on him. Would you like to go out for ice cream sometime?
Will we be celebrating my new title in the school?
Don't rub it in. After that, Gregory and I became an item. He drove a Ferrari and seemed much richer than my family because he lived in a mansion much bigger than mine. Once, when I was in the 12th grade, I decided to visit him at his house unannounced. And when I got to his house, his parents acted very weirdly. I'm here for Greg.
Oh, he's upstairs.
Okay, can I see him? When they finally let me in, I went to Gregory's room and found him busy with something on his computer. Greg?
What? Who let you in?
I'm sorry. I thought I would surprise you. He looked really angry.
I hate surprises. Don't ever come here without calling first.
I was so mad at him when I left. I felt like just breaking up with him, but then he came over to my house with flowers.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have snapped at you. Please forgive me.
I don't know. You acted so strange. What was more important than me?
I was actually planning a surprise trip for the both of us to Thailand.
I immediately forgave him. He was so romantic, and he obviously loved me since he was spending so much on me. We went to Thailand just for the weekend, and my parents liked Gregory, so they also trusted him while we were there. Gregory was all romantic at first, but then he changed when I wanted to go shopping.
Shopping for clothes? Did you bring your credit card to pay for all those clothes?
What? But you said to take whatever you want and you'll pay.
Yeah, but I didn't expect you to buy the entire store.
Lucky for me, I did have my dad's credit card and managed to pay for my stuff. But the next day, I woke up to a shock. Gregory was gone. He left a note along with my plane ticket back home. He broke up with me on a note saying, "Nice knowing you goodbye." What a jerk! I felt like my world was falling apart. Why would he break up with me this way? When I tried to call his number, it went to voicemail. I had to gather my strength and head back home, and maybe then find out why he suddenly just left. Could it be because of all the clothes I bought? But when I got back home, my family was on edge. Everyone was pacing up and down, and as soon as I entered, Dad rushed up to me.
Rose, where's my credit card? Someone hacked all my trading accounts using my credit card, which is linked to every other account. So, Rose, you have to tell me where that credit card is.
I was totally freaking out and tore my whole bag apart looking for that card. And then I asked Dad to take me to Gregory's house, and when we got there, his mansion was empty. Oh my God, Dad, I think Gregory took all our money. Dad looked at me silently. At first, I thought he was going to blame me since Gregory was my boyfriend, but all he did was remain quiet. But Mom and Lucy went berserk.
We are broke because of your scheming, scamming boyfriend.
How was I supposed to know he was a fraudster? He drove a Ferrari and you liked him, Mom.
Yeah, I did. But he was still your boyfriend. You should have analyzed his intentions.
And then Lucy looked at her phone and screamed like someone died. What happened?
The Wi-Fi isn't working. How am I supposed to post my selfies from this morning?
Oh, I was supposed to pay for that today, but not anymore. Girls, I'll be in my office. I have no idea how I'm going to fix this.
I felt like everyone blamed me for this. And after 2 weeks, all our maids, chefs, butlers, drivers, gardeners, and pool cleaners quit because we couldn't pay them. Dad soon started investigating the matter, which was going to take some time, so we all had to adapt to some changes in our overly expensive lifestyle. We managed to keep the house, and since Dad paid our school fees for the entire year, Lucy and I didn't have to change schools, which was a relief.
Okay, so at school nobody knows we're poor, so let's just try and keep it that way.
Of course, why would I want anyone to know that we're poor? Maybe because it's
all your fault.
I am sick and tired of everyone in this family blaming me for everything. That's just so much pressure. I started crying and Lucy felt bad and apologized.
Okay, I'm sorry, but our life just sucks so much right now.
While we sat sulking about our poverty-stricken life, we heard Mom scream from the kitchen.
Somebody help.
Lucy and I ran down to the kitchen and found the stove on fire and Mom trying to put it out with a tablecloth, and it was reaching for the ceiling.
Ah, it won't stop quickly. Get some water.
While Lucy thought a glass of water would help, I brought the fire extinguisher and thank God was able to put out the fire. But now our entire kitchen was ruined and there was smoke all over the place. We gotta sit outside until the smoke is gone. Come on. We all sat outside on the stairs and Mom was in tears telling me how she was trying to cook but ended up ruining the kitchen.
I guess we'll have to order food. I hope they give us some discount.
Right then, Dad came in, all smiles.
Hello? Everybody?
Oh, did you get our money back?
Nope. I found a job. I'm going back to selling insurance, and once I make some good commission, I'll start trading again and get all the money that we lost.
Well, Daddy's plan didn't follow through the way he saw it. 3 months went by and we were still struggling, and the only thing Dad could afford was food. So I decided it was time to get a part-time job as a waitress.
But Rose, if you work as a waitress, everyone in school will know.
Yes, I know, but maybe if I work I can help Dad pay for the Wi-Fi. Lucy immediately smiled, but she wouldn't dare try to get a job since she cared so much about what people would think. The restaurant I worked at was a classy place where all the rich and mighty dine. And one day while I served a bunch of top-class businessmen, I overheard their discussion about new digital devices. I got excited and couldn't contain myself. I have plenty of ideas for new devices. Imagine having a portable hard drive is something almost like an iPod, but with more space. That way, users will be able to carry all of their important information on one small iPod. We could even make it have a video presentation for business meetings. After I was done babbling, they looked at me, stunned. Then the tall man with a big forehead was so rude.
You can just get our order, please.
I walked away, feeling embarrassed, and then the next worst thing happened when I waited at my next table. They were girls from my school who envied my sister and me all the time, and the worst of them all was Charlotte.
Wow, you work as a waiter? Ha 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 ha. This must be my lucky day. Wait, I have to take a picture of this.
Oh, Charlotte, get over yourself. I work here and earn my own money, unlike you, a spoiled brat forever.
Ugh, that's no way to talk to your customers. Where's the manager? I want to file a complaint.
He's out to lunch, so can I take your order? It was the most dreadful day of my life. But the next day when I went to school, everyone called me Waiter Girl. Since Charlotte posted my picture on Instagram, and during recess, while Lucy and I were minding our own business, Charlotte started being so annoying with her stupid minions.
We've noticed that you two bring lunches to school these days. Should we open up a charity fund dedicated to the richest in the school? Oh, let me rephrase. The poor, smelly girls of the school.
Shut up, Chatroulette. Lucy got up, angrily clenching her fist, and I calmed her down. Don't worry about her, Lucy. She's just a jealous girl who has no goals.
At least my goal is not to be a waiter. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, your goal is probably to be a brainless peanut all your life since you get big fat zeros on all of your tests. Charlotte eventually left us alone, but then after school, Dad picked us up in a rundown car, and Charlotte got the entire school to come and watch us get in it.
Oh my gosh, where did your dad buy this junk from?
At that point, I had had enough of Charlotte's farty face. Just leave me and my family alone. Our financial life is none of your business. Dad was shocked when we got home, and he told us that his contract at work was about to end. So he sold his Land Rover and got us a scrappy car. Life was getting even worse for us. I put on my waiter clothes and got out of the house to work an extra shift. While I was at the restaurant, I found my manager watching Luna AVATA. Wow, you like Luna AVATA?
Yeah. Is that a problem?
No problem. I was just surprised.
There was a guy who came looking for you. He left his number.
When I called the number, a part of me was hoping it was Greg calling to say he was sorry and he wanted to give us all our money back. But it wasn't. Hello, you were looking for me at the restaurant.
Yes, our investors liked your pitch that you suddenly decided to blurt out while you were serving our table. We have an offer for you if you could put all those ideas on paper.
Yes, I can. I left my extra shift. I went home and started putting ideas together for new devices. I didn't want to say anything to my family yet. I just wanted to get the offer first. The next day, I met with those business people again, and I was blown out of my mind when they told me I was going to get $100,000. I was on cloud 9. I immediately signed the contract, and they even asked me to stay in contact if I had any other ideas. I couldn't believe this was actually happening, and when I showed my family the check, we celebrated all night.
Rose, you just saved our lives.
Does this mean we can get our chef back? Because I'm getting really tired of eating baked beans every day.
Not just yet. Dad needs to first work his magic on the trading platform, and then maybe. I was so happy to see my family relaxed again. Lucy wanted us to go shopping the next day, since all of our heels were starting to lose their texture. 2 pairs, and that's it, right? We need to use all this money wisely.
Yes, I know. But what if I see a third pair that I like?
Lucy! Just before we could head off to the mall, Dad screamed from the living room.
Rose, you have to see this.
When I went to check what he was talking about, the news was on, and Gregory was handcuffed and sentenced to prison for the next 20 years for being one of the biggest fraudsters in the city. And the parents that he said were his parents were just actors. I felt so relieved. And Dad eventually got a call from the credit card company. With good news, all his money would be returned. Soon after that, I completed school, got my degree in computer science, and became the next richest person in our city. And then, one day I even had my own business meeting at that classy restaurant.
Can I take your order?
Charlotte, you work here now?
Yes. So can I take your order?
I didn't laugh or insult her because there's really nothing wrong with being a waitress. We all have to start somewhere if we want to make it. When I was in the first grade, and after I was done doing the task Ms. Janice gave us, I started reading a book. The teacher looked at me through her thick glasses.
What are you reading? Show me.
I slowly pulled out the book from my lap.
You're reading Shakespeare's sonnets?
I'm sorry, miss.
When did you learn to read this?
When I was 4, Shakespeare is my favorite poet, and Agatha Christie is my favorite author. Ms. Janice looked really surprised. She and I had so much in common, and we got closer over time.
Why don't I walk you home today, and I can have a little chat with your parents?
I led Ms. Janice to my house, and to my horror, we walked straight into one of Mom and Dad's screaming matches.
How many times do I have to tell you the same thing? It's a ketchup stain.
Stop lying to me. I know that was lipstick.
Mom, Dad, we have a visitor. The two stopped short and turned to look at us.
Hi, I just wanted to talk to you about Luna. We want to put her in the Gifted Kids program and...
Yeah, whatever. Anything you want me to sign before I leave?
And with that, he was out the door. I hated their fighting, but I was too happy to care for a change. He'd be back soon enough. But this time, he just didn't come back. Hi, my name is Luna. Please like and subscribe. Dad just disappeared, and he had even blocked our numbers, and Mom just became a depressed couch potato. I had to keep up with all my schoolwork and do all the house chores. At 14, I was already busy preparing for my SATs and applying to colleges. One day when I was studying at home, I got a phone call that shook my world. Mom had been in a terrible car accident. I called Miss Janice and we rushed over to the hospital. The doctors told us that Mom had suffered a severe head injury and was still unconscious. A week later, Mom finally opened her eyes. The doctor came to check and said everything seemed normal until we asked Mom's name.
Do you remember your name?
It's Candace. Duh.
And what day comes after Tuesday, Candace?
Mom flung a plastic cup at his forehead.
I don't know. Poop face, I want my mommy.
The doctor said he needed to do a brain scan. Mom kicked up such a fuss as the nurses took her away. The doctor made the most shocking discovery ever.
Your mother now has the brain of a 6-year-old. It's possible she'll return to normal, but it could also be permanent.
My mom had turned into an actual baby. My life just turned into a nightmare after that. I had to leave Mom at daycare before going to school. I could see all my college dreams slipping away as I dropped out of my SAT classes. I had enough on my plate right now with Mom and the housework. And boy, was she the brattiest 6-year-old ever! One day when I just finished making dinner, I went to her room and found her busy pulling out everything from the cupboards and throwing it on the floor. Oh my God! Mom, Candace, stop it! Who's gonna clean that up?
Not me.
And she ran out cackling like a little witch. When I went downstairs, she was already at the dinner table. Get your feet off the table, please. A minute later, I got hit by something on my face.
Yuck. I hate broccoli. I want Doritos.
Well, too bad. You have to eat your greens. And then she appeared nauseous. Fine, put on your shoes and we'll go to the grocery store. As I paid at the store, I saw her looking at the Barbie dolls display. I told her we had to go, but she just looked stubbornly at me.
I want one.
No, let's go. What happened next is something I'll never forget. Her eyes filled with rage as she unleashed a scream that was shrill enough. She took and threw the Barbies. And then she threw herself on the floor and started kicking and crying. Horrified, I apologized to the staff and quickly bought a doll. When we finally got home, she took one look at the Barbie and tossed it aside.
Nah, it's really ugly.
And she skipped off to her room happily. Just then, the doorbell rang. I opened the door to see it was Miss Janice. The minute I saw her, I hugged her and started crying. I can't do this. I can't be my mom's mom. I told her I wanted to sell Mom. I would just post it online. Mom for sale. Miss Janice just laughed and hugged me tight.
I found you a part-time job at the local library.
Thank you so much. But soon enough, I discovered the worst thing about being an adult. Paying bills every month. How was I going to pay for everything? Being a library assistant. That evening, I stopped at an ATM and withdrew the last $100 I had. I almost threw away the receipt without looking when suddenly I froze. I stared at my account balance. $13 billion. I looked around. half expecting a camera crew to pop up behind me and tell me this was a big fat joke. I ran back home and logged onto my computer to check again. Someone had anonymously sent me $13 billion. When Miss Janice came to visit me, I told her about the money. Miss, should I report it to the bank because this is clearly a mistake, right?
No one sends someone $13 billion by mistake, love.
Seems like you've got a mystery guardian angel.
It's yours to enjoy.
And enjoy it, I did. The first thing I did was hire a chef, a maid, and a nanny for Mom. I'd now come home from school to a clean mom, folded laundry, a clean house, and fancy food on the table. I started my SAT classes and college applications again. I could go to any university now and take Mom and the nanny with me. One day, I walked into the lounge to find Mom watching Frozen for the millionth time. When she saw me, she ran over to me excitedly.
I want to be Princess Elsa on my birthday. Look, I'll show you these birthday parties on YouTube.
Okay, Mom can have anything she wants. I threw her a grand birthday party and invited the whole neighborhood. Mom made a special appearance in a gorgeous dress. She almost tripped on her flowing blue dress. As she stepped out, I could see all our neighbors staring and snickering. Sometime later, I went to the bouncy castle to look for Mom and saw her in a corner crying while the other kids shouted.
What are you doing here, you weirdo? You're a grown-up.
You look so stupid and ugly.
I just wanted to be Princess Elsa.
No one talks to my mom like that. Come, Mom, we are going to cut the cake now. As Mom excitedly blew the candles, I made a silent wish too. Please let Mom be normal again. Please let Mom be normal again. When everyone had left, Miss Janice turned to me, smiling.
You did a good thing for your mom. She looked really happy. You should sometimes be a kid and have fun too.
She was right. When the weekend came around and my classmates invited me to a party, I didn't turn them down. Just as I was ready to head out, I found out that my babysitter had bailed on me. I didn't know what to do, so I decided to take Mom with me. My mom threw a tantrum the moment I arrived and wanted to go home. Everyone was staring and laughing at us. Shh, be quiet. She looked at me with terrible tears in her eyes and then burst out crying. I'm sorry, let's go home. When we got home, I had enough money to move out and settle down in another town where I could attend college. Miss Janice was sad that I was leaving. I bought a mansion that was especially made for toddlers and included all kinds of games. On my first day at college, Mom cried so hard and didn't want me to leave her with the nannies and the servants. But I put my hands around her face and kissed her forehead. You will be just fine, Mom. But I was wrong. 2 hours later, I got a phone call and learned that Mom had hit her head again. She was in a coma for 2 days.
Part of her mother's brain still thought she was an adult. That's why she often does dangerous things, thinking she's old enough to do it.
I just realized that leaving for college was still too early. I spent my time at home and started writing. Writing became my only escape. I created my own blog, and to my surprise, people loved my stories. I was inspired by Agatha Christie's novels and wrote many detective stories. People started calling me the modern version of Agatha Christie, saying my stories were addictive. I couldn't be happier. Until one day, I entered my mom's room and found her reading something that didn't look like the children's storybooks I'd given her to read. What are you reading? Show me. You're reading Shakespeare's sonnets?
I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't.
When did you learn to read this?
I started before we moved out. Shakespeare is my favorite poet, and Agatha Christie is my favorite author.
Was my mom a genius kid? Now I knew how it felt to be a genius with neglected parents, and I just wanted to support Mom and help her improve her talent. But I didn't only want to help Mom. I thought all the kids around the world should have a chance too. I used my billions to build huge libraries around the world for gifted and all kinds of kids. I realized that education and science were far more important than money. I had billions, but they couldn't bring me happiness. I found everything I loved in books, and my mom, she was and still is my #1 fan. Oh, and I also discovered that my mystery benefactor was a rich man who had caused Mom's accident. He felt so bad about it that he looked us up and sent me the billions. I'm really thankful for that man. Not for hitting my mom, of course, but for giving me this great opportunity to make a little change in the world.